Just close that door, inshallah. There's too much noise coming. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على خاتم الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه والتابعين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد، رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. اللهم ابسط علينا رحمتك وانشر علينا من حكمتك وافتح لنا فتوح العارفين ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. اللهم لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم يا رب العالمين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته. إن شاء الله. I love the young faces more than the old ones. The old ones have a lot of grey hair, so they've literally painted the earth white already. We want young hair. And I don't know for how long you're going to be. How long are you going to be here with Musa? 5 minutes? 5 minutes? I'll negotiate with the student. If I'm going to have to pay him, I'll pay him so that I can keep it behind. Barakallahu feek. We had our tafsir classes before Ramadan. I mean Ramadan, isn't it? But now we've changed. We said we're going to take a pause on tafsir and focus on fiqh specifically. And we said for many reasons we're going to focus on fiqh. But to begin with, something that I want to, because remember today is just going to be an introductory day. We're not going to enter into the actual fiqh itself. Before we start studying a subject, you need to first of all understand the value of it, where it stands. That's why you notice لكل فن مبادئ. Every single fan, every single subject, every single ilm, it has its mabadi, foundation. You need to understand where does it come from. Why do we have the subject? حده, which is تعريفه, نسبته, مضمونه, فائدته وثمرته. You need to know what it stands for, what is the definition of it, what's the benefit of studying it, where does it come from, where does it originate from, who is the one that literally established the subject. You need to study all of those. Once you understand that, it becomes much easier for you as a person to appreciate what you are studying. But before we even go to the subject itself as fiqh, علينا أن نعلم أن الدين يشتمل على ثلاثة أقسام أو ثلاثة أشياء. This deen that we have, you and I as Muslims, it literally encompasses 3 parts of our lives. What are those 3? العقيدة والعمل والإخلاص. بمعنى اعتقاد وعمل وإخلاص. Where do we get that from? What does اعتقاد mean? It means that which you believe inside your heart. It starts with that. Then it comes with amal. You manifest your belief by your actions. But then your action need to be tied with something far more important than what we can fathom today, which is ikhlas. Ikhlas has been removed in the modern age today. Everything, whatever we do, literally has to have what? A return of investment, ROI basically. Now for us, we need a return on investment of what we've done, which the eye can see. But when we pray, do you expect a return on that? Or do you fulfill because you know it's your duty as a Muslim, you have to fulfill it? You fulfill it as a Muslim, isn't it? Your return on investment is going to be in the hereafter, and you pray to Allah that He accepts. لذلك عندما تنظر إلى الدين, when you look at the deen itself, you end up realizing if it divides to 3 parts, then كل هذه الثلاثة تحت مسمى واحد. What is it? الفقه. All of these 3, they're under one banner known as fiqh. We cannot separate aqidah from fiqh al-amal, which we do as actions, and we cannot separate the deeds that we do from ikhlas, it being tied by doing it for the sake of Allah ta'ala. You can't do that. If you separate one from the other, then it will be incomplete. It's like a person who does not believe in Allah, they pray and you expect their salah to be accepted? Of course not. And it's like a person who believes in Allah but they don't pray to show their manifestation of believing in Allah. How would their ibadah be? How would they be accepted as a Muslim? Or it's like a person who does something and claims to have done it for the sake of Allah, whereas they've done it for the sake of what? Attaining a worldly gain. That wouldn't be for the sake of Allah. A person that prays literally, and then in that prayer, they did it because so many people will come and see them and they will find them to be righteous. La. That is not taken. We don't accept it. That's why when you pray, you have to make sure, for whom did I do it? How did I do it? How is my heart connected to the one whom I'm doing it for? This will take me back to a very common hadith which many of us use, and it's very common. I believe you know the hadith, Hadith Jibreel al-Mashhur. Very common hadith, isn't it? A simple question which the ulama do not discuss. I want each one of us to ask ourselves that. The scholars do not discuss it. Why? Can someone close the door, please? Why don't the ulama discuss it? Why don't they pay attention to it? Or maybe the ulama, some of them do, some don't. Majority of them don't do it that way. How? When you look at, because they look at it this way. When you look at the hadith Jibreel, which when he came to the Prophet ﷺ, I don't want to explain it, it's too long, because many of us know it already. He came to Rasulullah ﷺ, sat with him with adab and etiquette, and then he asked him questions. From among the questions that he started with what? Ma hiya al-Islam? Explain to me, akhbirni an al-Islam. What is Islam? He told him that Islam is to believe in Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala, la ilaha illallah, and then is to do what? Muhammadur Rasulullah, iqam as-salah, ita'i zakah, wa sawmi Ramadan, wa hajj al-bayt, in istata'ta ilayhi sabila. That's what it is, simply put. But then he asks him about Iman, and Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa answers it. And then he asks him about Ihsan, and Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa answers it. And the last question is regarding to what? The signs of the hour. Which Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa he kind of dodged a bullet by saying, I don't have the answer to this. You're asking a person that does not have any idea, and we're all the same. That's when he asked him, okay, if you don't know it, then tell me just the signs of which relate to this question that I asked you. From this, when you look at the hadith, even if we started with i'tiqad as aqidah in itself from the 5 pillars of Islam, but I want you to look at them as a whole. Look at all the 4 questions and you'll realize it starts with fiqh first. Then it goes to the actual aqidah itself, the core of aqidah, believing in Allah, messengers, angels, and believing in the books and the last day and preordainments, qadar, isn't it? Then it comes to what? Tazkiyah, ihsan. أن تعبد الله كأنك تراه فإن لم تكن تراه فإنه يراك. I can use another word for fiqh tazkiyah, but it's literally going to repel a lot of people. You understand that? We don't need to use those words. They scare a lot of people. When people hear this word, it's like they even, when they see a lion, they wouldn't run away. But when they hear this word, subhanAllah, fire has literally attended in front of them. That's how it is. But we normally use the word fiqh tazkiyah for the masses, inshallah. You notice if you look at the hadith, Allah does not start with aqidah. Allah does not start with ikhlas, which is tazkiyah. Allah starts with fiqh. And He includes aqidah in the pillars of Islam so that you may look at it as fiqh. And for the many of those who are ahnaf of the brothers over here, or maybe the sisters who will be looking at this inshallah, Abu Hanifa is the one that called aqidah al-fiqh al-akbar. And you know who quotes this statement as well? Mayyara al-Fasi in his book of a Maliki book, Maliki fiqh. He says that if you look at aqidah, our great scholar, our father, Imam Abu Hanifa, al-Nu'man, what does he say? He says that aqidah is known as al-fiqh al-akbar, the greatest fiqh, which there is no fiqh greater than that. But there's aqidah, after you notice that, when you look at fiqh, you end up realizing, so my whole life I have to study fiqh. That's the whole purpose of Siri. You end up realizing your whole life is tied with fiqh. Now we don't want to look into aqidah over here. Why so? It's because for the brothers that you know the students are on, now you may come forward inshallah. If you don't mind coming a bit closer, don't worry about that. You can just stay on the side. Barakallah. So take it this way. As you look at fiqh, don't look at fiqh by understanding, I will learn how to pray, fast, do zakah. No. I want you to look at fiqh as they divide to 3 parts. And you may write this down. Fiqh al-aqidah, number 1. Fiqh al-amal, number 2. And fiqh al-tazkiyah, number 3. There's 3 fiqh. But the main one that we are going to focus on is fiqh al-amal, fiqh of deeds. How do we do our deeds? And when you look at this, you end up realizing that there's something amazing which I found from among the many research that I've done. You notice the ulama, they say the following, and it's written by Al-Qasim ibn Abdalla al-Rumi al-Hanafi. It's a Hanafi scholar himself. He writes this beautifully. He says that this fiqh that we are studying, knowing how to pray, how to fast, how to believe in Allah properly, without doubting any part of our aqidah, and also completing our hajj if we have to, and paying our zakah if we have to, and committing our lives to Allah wa ta'ala. This is how it started. They say that zara'ahu Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. Who did it first? Abdullah ibn Mas'ud planted it. Now let me tell you something. If you look at the fiqh of Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam Abu Hanifa's fiqh is tied with the madhab of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. The Maliki fiqh is tied by Umar ibn Khattab. If you look at the Shafi'i fiqh, it's tied by Abdullah ibn Abbas. And like that. You see how these great men go back to the Sahaba? Now question yourself this. I'm not going to talk about it today. I'll talk about it in further sessions, inshallah. Like, I want to ask you a simple question. If the ulama, which we rely on today, Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam Malik, Imam Shafi, Imam Ahmad ibn Muhammad, they went back to the madhab of the Sahaba, then how comes you and I could say that we don't need a madhab? All we need is what? Is قال الله قال الرسول, the Quran and the Sunnah. Ask yourself that. I don't want to debate that at the moment, nor do I want to talk about it, but I want to show you the beauty of a madhab. When Al-Qasim ibn Abdullah al-Rumi al-Hanafi, rahmatullah alayhi, when he said that Zara'ahu Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, he did what? He planted it. Who harvested it? Alqamah, another Sahaba. And then after that, who is the one that literally crushed it after harvesting and doing the farming and everything? Came in whom? Ibrahim al-Nakha'i. Ibrahim al-Nakha'i, he is the one that did what? He crushed it all together. Put all the plants together. Basically, you have wheat. Now you need to do what? You need to crush it together so that it can be flour, isn't it? Then you have the one who grinded it, tahanahu. Who did the grinding? Abu Hanifa rahmatullah alayhi. He is the one that did the grinding. But then the students come forth now. After doing the grinding, the one who knead the bread, the dough itself, after having the flour ready, is Abu Yusuf. Al-Qadi Abu Yusuf, the great Qadi, whom Harun al-Rashid, the Khalifa at his time in the Umayyad, in the Abbasid dynasty, this is what you notice. Al-Qadi Abu Yusuf, his mother would literally deny him from studying because his father passed away. He had to go work. And he would work for only 2 gold coins every month. Abu Hanifa saw potential in him, to make it very short. What Abu Hanifa, rahmatullah alayhi, did, he missed him for a few days and went to the house of whom? Al-Qadi Abu Yusuf. When he went to the house of this young man, remember people yesterday, and basically it is yesterday anyways, people that time, they used to live and know each other. Just like how we go back to villages. But in this day and age, people don't know each other, let's be honest. That's the honest truth. Can someone put the light on? Put the name on this one. You get what I mean? People don't know each other. That's the honest truth. People can be neighbors, like literally, can be neighbors, this house and that house. Number 32, number 34. That's how it goes, isn't it? 31, 33, 35, 37, 32, 34, 36, 38, like that. 32, 34 live together, they don't know each other. Even by name. That's how we live. That's the honest truth. Like if you look at the reality of how people live, they knew each other. They looked for each other. They asked about each other. لذلك Imam Abu Hanifa went to the house of Al-Qadi Abu Yusuf and asked the mother, where is this young man? She told him, look, he is going to work, he cannot be here. And then Al-Qadi Abu Yusuf appeared all of a sudden, and long story short, the mother is arguing, you are a lost man, telling Abu Hanifa, you've lost yourself. You literally, you don't even understand, you're a mad person. How come you want to pay this young man so he can come and attend your classes, while you know you're spending on your own, from your own money? So you're losing, you're not benefiting. And Imam Abu Hanifa told her, look, you're the one that has a problem. Because this is what you need to realize. It's as if I see him tomorrow sitting with the Khalifa having the best of dessert that no one else can achieve the dessert except for Khalifa. And Al-Qadi Abu Yusuf, when it came that time when he was with the Khalifa, that dessert came, it's called Al-Faludaj. When that dessert came, he cried a lot. And he said, Rahimallahu Abu Hanifa. May Allah have mercy upon Abu Hanifa. The one who saw very far with his mind and heart the potential in me that I'm able to be in this position today. But did Al-Qadi Abu Yusuf just become Al-Qadi Abu Yusuf with any other subject? No. He became Al-Qadi Abu Yusuf with fiqh. لذلك, when you notice that the one who led the dough is Al-Qadi Abu Yusuf, but who is the one that baked it? Another student of Imam Abu Hanifa. Muhammad ibn Hasan al-Shaybani. He is the one that baked the bread, and we are all eating from his bread today. All of the Ahnaf are eating from the baked bread of Muhammad ibn Hasan al-Shaybani. Bear that in mind. But there's something amazing I want to address to you as well. Muhammad ibn Hasan تأثر بمذهب مالك جدا. He was literally impacted with the madhab of Imam Malik so much that after the death of Imam Abu Hanifa, he would engage in conversations and also go and learn the madhab of Imam Malik, even after the death of Imam Malik. That's why you notice he is among the many or the few of the Ahnaf that literally has an entire book that he wrote down, his own collection of Al-Muwatta. Al-Muwatta is the book of hadith, or one of the main sources that the Malikiya use. Bear that in mind. Brothers, bear this in mind. I want to tell you something. If you have your phone to look for time, fiqh classes are not short. Wallahi, I'm cutting it short. Fiqh classes, we study a minimum of 2 hours with the sheikh, not you as an individual. As an individual, you study fiqh تقريبا 4 ساعات في كل يوم. Nearly 4 hours a day, and that is nothing. Yesterday I was with Sheikh, and he told me something amazing. His Sheikh would literally sit down every single day and read. He would read for 8 hours a day. قسم وقته على 3 أقسام. He divided his time in every single day to 3 parts. 8 hours for reading, 8 hours for other aghrad, 8 hours for sleeping. وانتهى اليوم. 8, 16, 24. So if you think a fiqh class will be short, I'm sorry. You don't have to sit down, just go. I'm being honest. A fiqh class is long. And I'm literally trying to cut it short so that at least by 7:30 we're finished. And that's not even including Q&A. If you have any questions, inshallah, we're going to start doing that from next week. But this is just to give you a taster. Understood? So that's the importance of fiqh. So you see how much the ulama have done the work. And I specifically took these quotes from the Ahnaf, so that those who are Hanafis, because this land we live in a land where majority of the brothers and sisters that we have, they are Ahnaf. The Maliki madhab might not be widespread, and the Shafi'i madhab, I would say it goes as the Ahnaf first, the Hanafi madhab comes first, then in today's day and age, quote unquote, the Atharis, which are the Hanbalis, perhaps they come second. Then we have a mix of Malikis and Shafi'is, although predominantly nowadays a lot of people are embracing the Maliki madhab for so many reasons, and we're going to come to discuss that inshallah. But I'm not telling you let go of your madhab. Haram alayk, don't do that. Stick to your own madhab, love it. Because if you deviate and go to another madhab and people see you doing things a little bit differently, you'll be questioned. And if you don't have an answer for that, then hopefully they don't tell you to become a kafir. Bear that in mind.
Please blame you.
You should blame me. I'll return the blame back to you. That's them. People don't even care about that right now. Alhamdulillah. Okay. Now after understanding that, something else that we need to look at. Studying fiqh, what's the ruling on it? We know that when it comes to fard, something called fard, obligation. والفرض قسمان كفاية وعين. What does that mean? This part of fiqh, known as fard of usul basically, you notice fard means something which is obligatory, you have to do حتما. ما طلبه الشارع منك حتما ويجب عليك تنفيذه. What the shari', the legislator, has asked from you and you have to do it. It's compulsory. وَمَنْ تَرَكَهُ فَقَدْ أَثِمَ. The one who lets go of it has done what? Has committed a sin, grave sin. Bear that in mind. It might even lead to kufr if you let go of a fard. That's how important it is. Lucky when it comes to studying fiqh, it divides to two parts. Remember, fard divides to two. There's fard ayn, fardun ala al-ayn, or fard ala al-kifaya. What does that mean? Fardun ala al-ayn is individual obligations. Obligations which are related to the individual themselves. Every single Muslim must do it. You don't have a choice. Fardun ala al-kifaya is the type of fard that only specific people can do it. Mathalan, for example, when it comes to Salatul Janaza, is Salatul Janaza fard ayn? Is it a must? Basically, is it obligatory, compulsory upon every individual? Or is it obligatory only upon a certain group of individuals? What's the answer? Certain group? You're right and wrong at the same time.
If one group does it, it's fine. But if other group doesn't do it, it's fine.
That's still fard kifaya, that's what it's in, for a certain group. That's what it means.
If no one does it, then it becomes everybody's sin. But that's still kifaya.
No. Now let me tell you. It becomes sinful, basically it becomes fardu ayn. It becomes an individual's obligation if there is no one to do it but yourself. Okay? For example, someone passed away. You're in the middle of nowhere. And you're with your brother or with one of your sisters, and you've done the ghusl and you've done the kafn on them and everything. Now it's time to bury them, and there's no one with you. You're left alone, you have to do it. Understood? It's an obligation upon you. That's the beauty of studying fiqh. That's how you protect your deen. But when there is everyone over here, we have every Hassan and Hussein and Ali ibn Abi Talib and Umar and Abu Bakr, everyone is here. I, as Mustafa, I'm not obliged to do it. I can just walk out the masjid and there's nothing wrong. Understood? Like it's best that you stay behind. You don't run away. Remember, one day you will want to be prayed on as well. That's why it is. Inshallah. Okay. When it comes to fiqh, studying it, ikhwa, you need to know this. It is both fard ayn and fard kifaya. I've said this so many times. And I remember telling one of the brothers, I don't know if I told you recently as well. Studying fiqh, it becomes an obligation to every individual when it comes to certain aspects of fiqh. But then there's a stage where you reach, it doesn't become an obligation anymore. Now, when is it an obligation upon every individual? This is the question that you should ask yourself. Basically, it's the $1 million question. You have to always answer this correctly. I, as a Muslim, I am obliged by my deen to study my fiqh when it comes to my 5 pillars of Islam, and I don't have a choice. It's an obligation upon every Muslim to study the 5 pillars of Islam. Why specifically? Why 5 pillars of Islam? Basically, the 3 fiqhs that we mentioned, fiqh al-i'tiqad, fiqh al-amal, and fiqh al-tazkiyah, these 3, you need to study them. Hakman lak. You must study them, you don't have a choice. You wouldn't be able to show and manifest your belief if you cannot pray. You cannot have your salah accepted if you don't believe in Allah. And you cannot have your ibadah accepted if you have a danas, if you have a dirty spot in your heart against Allah. Like doing something for the sake of showing off. It wouldn't be accepted. Like the hypocrites mentioned in the Quran. Abdalla ibn Ubay ibn Salul, and all of the other ones that were mentioned in the Quran. Allah mentioned literally hypocrisy at the very beginning of Surah Al-Baqarah for a reason. These people, they manifest Islam, whereas they hide what? They hide kufr. That's what you call nifaq, hypocrisy. And because of this, how would Allah accept their ibadah? Allah can't accept their ibadah. Did they pray? Yes, they did. Did they fast? Yes, they did. If they had the opportunity to go to Hajj, they would have done it. Bear that in mind. Isn't it? That's how they work. So you need all 3. It becomes fard ayn. Everyone needs to study the 5 pillars of Islam. You need to understand Allah as your aqidah. When it comes to your shahada, why do you believe in La ilaha illallah? Why Muhammadur Rasulullah? And then the other ones, salat, sawm, zakah, and hajj. You need to study those as well, so that you may fulfill what is obligatory upon you as an individual. ما هو فرض عليك كشخص. لكن is فرض على الكفاية. It's not an individual obligation now, it's a collective obligation for the one whom has decided to specialize in fiqh so that they can take care of the affairs of Muslims. So for example, I as a talibul ilm, sitting over here teaching you, if I want to become a faqih and I want to look after the Muslims, for example, being an imam today, I must study fiqh throughout. Fiqh al-ibadat, fiqh al-mu'amalat, fiqh al-ankiha. All of these transactions, when it comes to marriage, when it comes to ibadat, worshiping, when it comes to business, there's nothing that you should have. Fiqh al-jihad, everything, you have to study all of those for you to become a faqih that can lead the ummah. Understood? So if you want to go that far, after you've studied the main pillars that you need to study as an individual, you can expand from there. If you don't want to, for khalas, you have completed what you need to do. Now something that has happened in today's day and age specifically, this we call the phase of marhalatul ghutha. Ghutha is saying, like literally, you know when you have running water which is unclean, an ocean, unclean ocean, for example, that type of ocean which carries every single dirt. That's how the Muslims have become today. Unfortunately, that is the truth. What we are fighting for today, we're not fighting to revive anything. Don't ever lie to anyone and say that we want to revive. First of all, preserve. We are fighting to preserve. Everything that we are studying today, no one is coming up with a new invention. I am not reinventing the wheel. I am taking from a book. أنقل من كتاب إليك. I'm taking from a book to you so that you may learn, I may learn, and each one of us can protect our deen. That's what we are doing. When a person studies and becomes a proper talibul ilm, they are not adding anything anymore. لأن العلوم قد استقرت. Because all of the ulum, they have literally settled. That is another aspect that we need to look at madhahib. And we're going to come to look into that inshallah ta'ala. Why should you stick to a madhab? Something very much debatable nowadays. And subhanallah, you'll be surprised. I don't want to enter into it so that I don't take away a lot from it. But we're going to come to it inshallah ta'ala. So you notice that if a person wants to become a student of knowledge today, you can become a student of knowledge. Can you become a mujtahid? We're going to cover that when we come to madhahib inshallah. Can you be a person that literally excels to a level now you can come up with your own madhab? You can come up with your own understanding of this deen. We're going to discuss that inshallah ta'ala in the next lesson. But for now, understand as an individual, the ummah has reached a position, even when it comes to their salah, they don't want to correct it. That's the issue. And when we pick an imam over here, sorry if I'm going to use these words, we pick any Tom, Dick and Harry and comes and leads salah. That's the truth. As long as a person can recite Quran, mashallah, and repeat the verses beautifully, and they have a wonderful voice, whether you understand, you don't understand, you say, this is the imam we want. لو أخطأ هذا الإمام مستحيل عليه أن يفعل ماذا؟ أن يصحح صلاته. It's impossible for him to even correct his salah. Bear this in mind. وعشرة شرائط الإيمان فذكر بالعقل والإسلام. What does that mean? قراءة بالعلم بالذي يلزم من فقه أو قراءة محتلم. وقدرة والعلم بالذي يلزم من فقه أو قراءة محتلم. وليس مأموما ولا معيدا في جمعة حر مقيم عيدا صاحب أسهل المسالك. You memorize these, you see the beauty of it. What does he say? There are 10 conditions of an imam. You need to be a male, number one. Because so many absurdities have been adopted. Nowadays, some others are coming up with new Islam that women can lead salah as well and be imam. I'm telling you, if women will lead salah in the masjid, the men will pray. That's the truth. فذكر, we need a male. بالعقل والإسلام. They have to have sanity and they have to have Islam. And among the conditions, وقدرة, they have to have ability. And what is ability? Not just physical ability, they have to have knowledge ability as well. والعلم بالذي يلزم. Knowledge of that which is necessary for them to lead salah. In fiqh, the ulama did not start with Islam and all of that. They started with fiqh. You need to cover your fiqh. Your aqidah needs to be straight. Your understanding of salah needs to be intact. You can't do that, you can't be an imam. Simply put like that, inshallah. Understood? So fardu aynin upon each one of us, with no exception. Fardun ala al-kifaya, if you want to become whom?
Specialist.
Specialist. Jazakumullah khair. Now, what is the fa'idah of studying ilm al-fiqh? And inshallah, when we finish this, we're going to enter into the type of what book are we going to look into, and then we'll stop there. لا أريد أن أطيل عليكم إن شاء الله. I just want you to start getting into this habit. Remember this, these classes are going to go for long. When I say for long, I mean they're going to go for at least 30 classes. Every single Monday, for 30 Mondays. Let's see who has the energy to stay behind for 30 classes. Inshallah, understood? If you have an obligation to fulfill, you can't attend. As you can see, they're being recorded, and you will find them online, inshallah. We'll direct you where to find them, inshallah. Among the fa'idah, من فوائد تعلم الفقه. Imam Shafi'i rahmatullah alayhi says beautifully. For example, he said to one of the mutakallimun of his time, and I forgot exactly, I can't say it is Sahmun. It's another scholar, like he was a scholar in logic. Perfect in logic, ilm al-kalam. Ilm al-kalam is all related to aqidah. Hence you have all of these strands that say, because of minute issues, they differ from one another until they lead each other to kufr. That's what happens. And Imam Shafi'i rahmatullah alayhi sits together with this man, and this man is literally a king when it comes to the subject, a specialized man when it comes to logic and philosophy specifically. And Imam Shafi'i told him, look, should I tend to guide you towards a subject if you study, or ilm that if you are to study, whether you make a mistake you'll be rewarded, and if you get it right you'll be rewarded twice, because the knowledge that you are working hard towards is a type of knowledge, if you get it right you won't be rewarded, and if you get it wrong you might even get out of the fold of Islam. The man asked, what knowledge? Ya Imam, he told him fiqh. Go back to fiqh. لذلك قال الإمام الشافعي تفقه إن الفقه أفضل قائد. Learn fiqh, because fiqh, when you study it, it is the best of guide you could have. It's the perfect guide. Towards what? إلى البر والتقوى وأعدل شاهد. Towards righteousness, and towards what? Piety. And it will be the just of witnesses in the hereafter. Because you try to understand Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. And then he said what? هو العلم الهادي إلى سنن الهدى. It is the knowledge that guides. It's the guiding knowledge towards the sunnah of guidance. The path of which Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam took. And then he finished, هو الحصن المنجي من جميع الشدائد. It is the guard. And it protects you from every single difficulty in this life. Because when you taste the sweetness of it and you understand your Lord, further as you understand your Lord by knowing how to worship Allah correctly, anything of a calamity that strikes you, you hold on to it. You have the firmness inside your heart because you know you have Allah. That's the truth. But then he says something amazing. This is what he says. فَإِنَّ فَقِيهًا وَاحِدًا مُتَوَرِّعًا. And indeed, then this is what you need to know, because he used the fa here. Fa means then. فَاءُ لِلتَّعْقِيب. What does that mean? It comes basically then immediately. هكذا. ليس للتراخي ثم للتراخي. These are simple things in al-Jurumiyya. ثم هذا, it comes after then, but للتراخي. There's a little bit of delay. This one there is no delay. فَإِنَّ فَقِيهًا وَاحِدًا مُتَوَرِّعًا. Then indeed, one faqih who has wara, meaning ikhlas in their heart, they do it for the sake of Allah. أَشَدُّ عَلَى الشَّيْطَانِ مِنْ أَلْفِ عَابِدٍ. That is a given. This one faqih is 1,000 times stronger against shaitan if compared to 1,000 worshippers of Allah. لذلك الإمام مالك رحمة الله عليه, he would literally say, you see these men over here, 70 of them. I can ask these men to ask Allah for rain, and wallahi Allah will bring rain down. Because of how pious they are, how connected they are to Allah. But when it comes to fiqh, I would never go to them. Because هذه المسائل لا تتعلق بتقواك ولا عبادتك. These masail do not relate to your taqwa or your ibadah or how close you are to Allah. It relates to how much you've studied. Until Imam Shafi'i goes to extend and go even further and say, taking knowledge and learning it is 1,000 times better than even doing the sunnah and the nafil after salah. But does that mean you neglect it? No. You don't neglect it. You don't neglect that. Because the more you understand Allah, the more you need this. The more you need to protect yourself. وهكذا. وكذلك الإمام ميارة الفاسي, he says also, he provides this as an anecdote, or maybe he provides it as a comment when he, after explaining this, these few lines of Imam Shafi'i, he said that لذلك هذا العلم يتوصل الإنسان به إلى معرفة الله واجتناب نواهيه وامتثال أوامره. This knowledge which we study, what does it do? It actually brings you closer to Allah, and it allows you to understand, gives you the ability to understand that which you should stay away from, of the dislikes and also the muharramat of Allah. And also it shows you what Allah wants from you and what you should be doing. That's why we need fiqh. And I would emphasize again, fiqh divides to three. Don't forget that. Fiqh al-i'tiqad, fiqh al-amal, which we're going to study over here, and fiqh al-tazkiyah. If you understand that fiqh divides to these three, you'll come to understand that your whole life revolves around these. What you do is, you make your belief in Allah firm every day. You worship Allah so that you may prove your truthfulness to Allah Ta'ala. And then when you have tazkiyah, is to always purify your heart. It cleanses you on the inside, so that you become what? You become ready and prepared to worship Allah properly. That's how it is. Do you think when you miss the Salatul Layl majority of the time is because you're just tired? Sometimes when we miss the Salatul Layl is because Allah is punishing us. Allah doesn't have to punish us by striking us with a calamity or taking away anything that we think belongs to us. But the fact that Allah takes away from us the right to fulfill a ibadah, that is a sign of punishment in itself. The fact that Allah strips away from us the ability to do ibadah is a sign of punishment. And little do we realize, sometimes Allah can afflict us with calamities. Why so? Is it because we committed a sin? We literally transgressed the boundaries of Allah? Sometimes it's not. But it's because of our heedlessness or forgetting a certain deed that we were doing maybe a few days ago or a week ago, and Allah tries to literally remind us by telling us, bumping on us a little bit. Young man, Ya Abdi, my servant, you've forgotten something. Come back. You've forgotten something. Come back. That's how Allah works. So not every time you have to commit a sin for Allah to literally punish you. But Allah can test you so that He can remind you and return to where you were before. Because it doesn't mean that you've forgotten Allah. But human beings, man. If we have been created with ضعف, with weakness, it means that easily we do what? We forget and start holding on to other things. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide us. Now the matn that we are going to look at, inshallah ta'ala, the text that we are going to focus on is known as Matnul Ashbawiyya. For those who come from, where is it, West Africa from the north? The brother from West Africa. You're Maliki? Forgive me for shaming you. You're Maliki? Barakallah fiik. You're Maliki? Maliki al-Madhab? You follow the Maliki Madhab or not? I like that one. He was born there. He was born there. Khalas, intaha. He was born there. We close the chapter. Finish. What about yourself? Maliki or not? You don't know? Inshallah. Hopefully the madhab of the people of Medina will literally, inshallah, will penetrate in your hearts. We're not saying the other madhahib are not related to the sunnah. Every single madhab, وَكُلُّهُمْ مِنْ رَسُولِ اللَّهِ مُجْتَمِسُونَ غَرْفًا مِنَ الْبَحْرِ وَرَشْفًا مِنَ الْيَمِ. Each one of them, they took from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So they all have a strong connection to the sunnah. Bear that in mind. لكن الاختلاف رحمة. الاختلاف is a mercy from Allah تبارك وتعالى. مالك وأحمد والشافعي. Abu Hanifa al-Imam al-Tabi'i على هدى من ربهم ورحمته. Each one of them, they're on what? The guidance of Allah and the mercy of Allah. والاختلاف نعمة للأمة. اختلاف is a mercy in the ummah. It's a blessing in the ummah. If we do not have ikhtilaf, sometimes certain aspects of our lives become very difficult that we have to let go of the madhab we have and take from another madhab to make our lives easier. Simply put, you go to Hajj, and Imam al-Shafi'i says, the moment your skin to, if a woman and a man touch each other skin to skin, khalas, your wudu is gone, finished. If you go to Hajj, then you don't have any single tawaf that you're going to do. Because especially for men, your shoulder is exposed, your palms are exposed, the sisters are bumping into you. What would you do in this case? Do you adopt the Shafi'i madhab? Of course not. But also at the same time, Imam Malik says if you have a wound in your hand, you do not cover it, and you're in Hajj, and this might cause what? Infections and all of that. Do we follow the Maliki madhab? No, we switch. وهذا ما نسميه التلفيق, jumping from one madhab to another. Bear that in mind. But you do not do that as a layman. You do that as a scholar. Or you do that as a talibul ilm. Or if as a layman, you have a problem according to your understanding and it's causing you trouble, that's when now you go to a sheikh, a alim, a faqih to guide you. Sheikh, I have this problem. According to my understanding, according to the madhab I know, the one that I follow, this is what I know. And this is what I've learned. How do I solve this issue? And I promise you, a shaykhun, munsifun, rabbani, a shaykh that literally has ikhlas and is connected to Allah sincerely, they will guide you to that which is easy. That's how it works. Beda idman. Like in order for you to have a mind mustaqil, you need to have a mind that has settled. A mind that is set, is properly organized, you have to hold on to one path. Hence we are going to read from Matn al-Ashmawiyya, the text of al-Ashmawiyya. The text of al-Ashmawiyya is based on the Maliki madhab. Now this text looks a little bit thick, isn't it? No, I'm not going to scale it. By the way, the text itself consists of at least just 40 pages, if I'm not wrong, 40, 50 pages. And I think that's a lot as well. I don't remember the exact number. Lakin beyond that, the text in itself only covers as-salah as a pillar. Salah as a pillar. Does it cover every single aspect of salah? No. It only covers the necessary part that you need as a person, as a believer or as a Muslim to worship Allah. Number one, salah. Okay? And number two, it only covers sawm, fasting. Why specifically cover only these two parts of the 5 pillars of Islam after Aqidah as well, and does not delve into zakah, no hajj? Why so? Because this is what we need to understand. At the very least, if you do not study all of the 5 pillars of Islam, because of the weakness that we have as an ummah today, that's the honest truth. Because people, if you go back 300, 400 years ago, it was the norm when a child grows up, they have to study all the 5 pillars of Islam thoroughly. For them to basically, that doesn't even make you to become a student of knowledge. That's the standard of the ummah. That is the standard of the ummah. The Muslim nation was like that. But today, if you study the 5 pillars of Islam thoroughly in and out, mashallah, you become a grand sheikh. That's the honest truth. A miskin, a poor man, the poor man has literally become a grand sheikh. Everybody wants his barakah, everybody wants to learn from him. He's just a normal talib al-ilm that has took a little bit that wants to share with you. That's the honest truth. Why did he specifically just focus on this? لأن المتن هذا قرر لمن. This matn was literally put together for whom? ليس للمبتدئين فقط. Not only for the beginners, لكن للأطفال, for children. Or specifically for children. It might sound really harsh, but that's the truth. And the scholar who wrote this, he was among the many scholars of the 10th century of Islam. 10th century. Beda Imam. 900 something there. Understood? That's when he wrote this text. And when he wrote this text after being nagged by a lot of his friends back and forth, the brothers and the ulama. When you say brothers, we mean scholars like himself. Remember, the ulama sit with scholars. The people that you sit with is the person that you're going to be. Basically, there's this word that literally has spread a lot around. Show me your friends, I'll tell you who you are. والعلماء كانوا هكذا. العلماء كانوا يجالسون العلماء. The scholars used to sit with the scholars themselves. So his friends would literally sit with him and they would tell him, look, give us something small for the young students so that they can learn as well. And for the beginners as well, they can learn something. لكن the ulama, what they have done, they've literally done a fine job. They have not just done a sharh of it. لكن حرروا الكتاب. They've literally broken down the book to an extent where this book has a hashiyah, the sharh of the sharh. What do we mean by that? A hashiyah, it means is the sharh, the explanation of the explanation itself. That's what it means. And the best of hawashi that you could read is hashiyatul safi. Like we have hashiyatul safi, we have hashiyatul adu, we have hashiyatul amir. Each one of them, they've done a good job. Why have they done this? Is because the book in itself, the matn itself, has its own barakah. Allah has put so much blessing in it, despite the author not being well known. That's the surprising bit. When we study about Imam Shafi'i today, everyone knows the biography of Imam Shafi'i. When we study about Imam Abu Hanifa, everyone knows the biography of Imam Abu Hanifa. If we study about Imam Malik, everyone knows the biography of Imam Malik. Like when it comes to the biography of Al-Imam Al-Ashmawi, little do we have about him. Because among the things that you have, literally, is written in 2 pages. Everywhere you look, even Sheikh Naif, Hafidhahullah, he's alive today, and Sheikh Ahmed, which is my Sheikh as well, when he's explaining, literally, when he's literally talking about the alim and the Sheikh that wrote this book, you notice that Al-Musannif, there's not much that you can explain about him. The only of what you can explain is his name. What is his name? His name is Abdul Bari Al-Ashmawi Al-Rifa'i Al-Misri. Abdul Bari Al-Ashmawi Al-Rifa'i Al-Misri. Abdul Bari Al-Ashmawi Al-Rifa'i Al-Misri. Now, Abdul Bari Al-Ashmawi, the word Al-Ashmawi literally relates to a city, Al-Manufiyya in Egypt. Bear that in mind. Understood? And at the same, Abdul Bari, the ulama, when you look at the Hashia, they break down even his name. What does Abd stand for? What does Al-Bari stand for? What does Ashmawi stand for? But that you will only find not in the Sharh like this. You will find it in the Hashia, which is the Sharh of the Sharh. When we say Hashia, we mean what? The Sharh of the Sharh. The explanation of the, which is the encyclopedia of the Matn itself. They break down every single word. That's how it works. Understood? They provide you the full name. Where does he relate to? He relates to Egypt. He comes from Egypt himself. And there's not much that you can explain about him. But he was from among the ulama al-qarn al-ashir. From the ulama that existed in the 10th century. That's how much we can explain about the alim himself. Lakin matnahu, his matn, literally Allah has put a lot of barakah and also has given him a lot of qabul, acceptance, to the extent that so many ulama that came after him, they literally took it and did works on it and left behind their turath that you and I today are celebrating from. We are reaping those fruits. Understood? So if we're going to put this book into the position of Muhammad ibn Hasan al-Shaybani, we said that Muhammad ibn Hasan al-Shaybani, what did he do? He baked fiqh, isn't it? He's the one that sat on the bakery, baked the bread, and he prepared the bread of fiqh. And each one of those who are the followers of the Hanafi school of thought, what do? They eat from whom? From the bread of Muhammad ibn Hasan al-Shaybani. Today we are eating from bread of whom? Al-Ashmawi. His name is Abdul Bari Al-Ashmawi Al-Rifa'i. Bear that in mind. Inshallah. Simply put like that. Now, as we move on, inshallah, to explain to you, something that I did not explain to you fully is that why did he have to cover only Sawm, fasting and Salah? Isn't it? To conclude, inshallah ta'ala, this is what you need to know. The reason why he covered fasting and Salah alone is because not everyone is destined to give out zakah. Because not everyone will be rich enough to have an nisab, the threshold of zakah, for them to give out zakah. Not everyone would have the ability to go to Hajj, isn't it? And Imam Malik rahmatullah alayh, it is said that he went to Hajj once in his life. The grand Imam Malik that lived in Medina throughout his whole life and walked Medina barefoot. Bear that in mind. He went to Hajj only once in his life. So not everyone can go to Hajj and not everyone can give out zakah. But everyone can believe in Allah and everyone can pray. It doesn't matter what position you're in. Bear that in mind. ثم قيام فيها إن تستطيع ثم استناد أو جلوس فاضطجع. What does that mean? From among the pillars of Salah, if you cannot stand, if you could you stand, you must stand. And you have to exhaust all of the options of standing. You can't stand, then you lean. You cannot lean, that's when you sit. You cannot sit, then that's when you lie down. And you have to exhaust all of the positions and options that you have in every single part of those. Which means to say no one is saved from praying. We all have to pray. No one is exempt from Salah. You have to do Salah. Is anyone exempt from fasting? No. Only old people or those who are not feeling well. وَالْمُلْحَقْ بِالْمَرِيضِ, and those who are literally included in the category of those who are not feeling well. Imagine that. But it is obligatory upon everyone to do what? To fast. As long as you've reached the age of puberty, you must fast. You reach the age of puberty, you must pray. Like if you reach the age of puberty, you don't have money, would you give zakat? Of course not. If you become an old man, you have work and all of that, but yet you don't have, for example, today going to Hajj is £12,000. You can afford that. If you can't afford £12,000 as you move on with your life, are you obliged to go to Hajj? No, you're not. And Allah will forgive you for that. لِذَلِكَ لِمَنِ اسْتَطَاعَ إِلَيْهِ سَبِيلًا, for the one who can go to Hajj. That's why you notice that this, what we are covering, ya ikhwa, is only for the young students. So don't be scared and think perhaps we're going to have 30 classes and maybe these 30 classes are going to be so long. How are we going to cover them? Hasha, that's not how it's going to be. Bear this in mind. To make it very minor to yourself, is understand you're only covering salah and saum. And when you bear that in mind as well, to make it much easier, not everything related to salah is covered in the book. And not everything related to fasting is covered in the book. The only things you need to cover, to know about salah, those are the things that are covered. And the things that you need to know about fasting, the basics, those are the ones that are covered. I'll give you, for example, you read from Ibn Ashir, or Matan al-Akhdari, or you read from this one, Al-Ashmawiyya. All of these are beginner's book, but Ibn Ashir is more or less of a beginner to intermediate, now entering into the intermediate level. But if you read Al-Risala to Ibn Abi Zayd al-Qayrawani, it's middle intermediate. Even intermediate goes to beginner intermediate, middle, and then you have higher intermediate. Very, very important. For you to reach that higher intermediate, you need to study Tadrib Hussain. And then now to become at least a muntahi in today's day and age. Not then. In today's day and age, to be regarded as an expert, you need to study Aqrab al-Masalik. Aqrab al-Masalik li al-Imam al-Dakdir rahmatullahi alayh. As he starts, Alhamdulillahi muli ni'am wa shukru lahu ala ma khassa minha wa am. والصلاة والسلام على النبي الأعظم وعلى آله وأصحابه وأمته أشرف الأمم. He starts like that. And now we don't want to enter into that. These I'm just mentioning to you so you can see how you're going. Now when it comes to مسألة الرعاف مثلا. مسألة الرعاف. What is مسألة الرعاف? مسألة الرعاف is when you have nose bleeding. There's so many masail related to that. In Al-Ashmawiyya you will never see it. Ibn Ashir, which is higher beginner, entering into intermediate level, you're not going to see it. In Al-Akhdari, you're not going to see it. Where are you going to see it? Middle intermediate, Al-Risala, Ibn Abi Zayd al-Qayrawani. That's when you start covering those masail. Understood? So don't be shook by thinking that perhaps you're going to study too much. Appreciate what you're studying and take this which you are going to have, inshallah ta'ala. Inshallah, in our next lesson, instead of entering into the book straight away, we're going to take 15 minutes to begin with, to explain why specifically do we have to hold on to one madhab, one matan at the same time, and then build upon that, inshallah ta'ala, so that you may have an understanding of why this specific book. Understood? And then the importance of also not only having a madhab, the importance of studying this fiqh in this manner as well, which will literally allow your mind to expand and understand things clearly. And then from there, that's when we're going to enter into the book straight away, inshallah. May Allah reward you for staying behind. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us knowledge and make us of those that would allow this knowledge to change our lives for the best and connects us to Him. Connect us to Him. اللهم اجعل اجتماعنا هذا اجتماعا مرحوما واجعل تفرقنا من بعده تفرقا معصوما ولا تجعل فينا ولا معنا شقيا محروما وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى اله وصحبه اجمعين. Now, we finished the class. Does anyone have a question? I can see some of you don't even want a question. One or and I would really appreciate if you do that. Anyone who has a question, inshallah, move on.
So this class is every Monday.
Every Monday, inshallah. And if there will be any cancellation, we'll let you know. Yes. Have a question?
No.
Or you want the heater?
No, I don't want the heat.
Barakallahu feekum. Inshallah. I would advise you, if you come in and you sincerely want to be part of these classes, you come in with a notebook, inshallah, and I would send maybe in the group, inshallah, or direct you online once this is uploaded, or how you can download the PDF from the book, inshallah, and you can have that. If you want to go a step further, you can buy it. It wouldn't cost you much, just £4.
Where is this sold?
Huh?
Where is this sold?
I think Zamzam bookshop. You know Zamzam bookshop in Green Street. You might find it there. If you don't find it there, look online in Dar Makkah.
Don't there's an English translation.
Huh?
English for translation.
I'll include the PDF. English translation.
Yeah.
In the links below, inshallah. It will be uploaded on YouTube, you'll see it.
You think it's in Dar Makkah?
Dar Makkah, I believe it should be.
So about
Even if-
Manipal.
One for both. You mean Azhar?
Yes.
I don't think so.
They're not part of this.
That's fine.
Assalamu alaikum.